There's an old saying that goes, the difference between a medicine and a poison is just the dose. And the more I work with people, especially those in their 60s and beyond, the more I see how true that really is. It's easy to assume that if something is natural, it must be safe. But believe me, that's not always the case. Nature is amazing. It gives us so many healing plants, herbs, and roots. Some of them truly help our bodies. They ease digestion, improve circulation, even calm our nerves. But inside that same beautiful world of herbs, there are some that can cause real harm. Quietly, slowly, without us even realizing it. And when we reach a certain age, when the body becomes more sensitive, more reactive, it becomes even more important to know what we're putting into it. That's why today, I want to talk to you about the teas that people over 60 should be very careful with, especially if you drink tea daily or if you've replaced soft drinks or coffee with herbal tea thinking it's the healthier option. Honestly, you might be drinking one of these teas right now and thinking it's doing you good. But depending on your blood pressure, your heart health, your medications, it could actually be working against you. So stick with me because we're going to walk through this gently and clearly. And by the end of this video, I promise you'll have a much better idea of which teas to keep and which ones to avoid. Now, before we go any further, if you haven't yet, go ahead and click the like button and subscribe to the channel. That way, you won't miss any of the simple health tips we share here every week. And I'd love to know, do you drink tea every day? What's your favorite kind? And where in the United States are you watching from? Let me know in the comments. I love seeing where our community is tuning in from. Alright, now let's get into it. Let's talk about teas that can raise your blood pressure. This surprises a lot of people because we tend to think of tea as calming, something you sip to unwind. But certain teas, even though they're completely natural, can quietly push your blood pressure up. And if you already have high blood pressure, this can be risky. One of the biggest offenders is licorice root tea. Have you heard of it? It's often used for digestive issues and it has a naturally sweet flavor. But here's what most people don't know. Licorice contains a chemical called glycyrrhizin. That's a mouthful, I know. But what it does is cause your body to hold on to sodium and lose potassium. And when that balance shifts, your blood pressure can start to climb, even if you feel fine at first. Over time, this can lead to headaches, fatigue, swelling, or worse, especially if you're already managing hypertension. Now let's talk about another very common tea, black tea. Black tea. It's one of the most consumed teas in the world. And yes, it does have antioxidants, which are good. But black tea also contains a lot of caffeine, around 60 to 70 milligrams per cup. That's nearly the same as a cup of coffee. And here's the thing. As we age, our bodies process caffeine more slowly. What used to feel like a mild energy boost in your 30s can now lead to racing heart, anxiety, restlessness, or even spikes in blood pressure. Have you ever felt a little shaky or lightheaded after your tea? Maybe you just assumed it was stress or low blood sugar, but it might have been the caffeine talking. Now, before you give up on tea entirely, I want to share a more positive option, hibiscus tea. This one is really interesting. Studies have shown that hibiscus tea can actually help lower blood pressure, especially when taken regularly. We're talking about 2 to 3 cups a day. It works in a way that's very similar to mild blood pressure medications, but it's natural and gentle. That said, it's not for everyone. If you're already on blood pressure medication, you'll want to check with your doctor first to make sure you're not lowering your pressure too much. So, to recap, even though they're natural, teas like licorice root and black tea can raise your blood pressure. And if you're in your 60s or taking medication for hypertension, they're best avoided or limited. On the other hand, hibiscus tea might be a good addition with medical guidance. Small changes like these can make a big difference. And when it comes to our health, especially as we age, every little adjustment matters. Now, let me ask you something. Have you ever felt more tired than usual, even though you slept well. Maybe your legs felt heavy, or your lower back ached a little. Most people wouldn't connect that to tea. But what if I told you? In some cases, tea could be quietly straining your kidneys. Yes, I know that sounds surprising. Tea seems harmless, even healing. But some teas, especially if used daily or in high amounts, can overwork your kidneys, leading to slow, silent damage over time. You see, your kidneys are like the body's built in filters. They clean your blood, regulate fluids, and remove toxins. But here's the catch: they rarely complain until things get serious. And after the age of 60, the kidneys naturally start to lose efficiency. That's normal. But it also means we have to be more careful with what we consume, including those so-called healthy teas. Let's talk about a group of teas that are incredibly popular, especially here in the United States, for weight loss and detox. I'm talking about slimming teas and detox blends. Maybe you've seen them at your local grocery store or online. They promise to reduce bloating, flatten the belly, cleanse the liver, flush toxins. You've seen the ads. But let me tell you what those labels don't say. Most of these teas contain strong diuretics or laxative herbs like senna, cascara, or dandelion root. And what they do is force your body to expel water quickly. That means you're losing fluids, yes, but also important minerals like potassium and magnesium. Now imagine doing that every day. Little by little, your kidneys start to feel the strain. A 2020 study published in the Clinical Journal of the American Society of Nephrology showed that frequent use of herbal diuretics can contribute to acute kidney injury, especially in older adults who are already taking medications for blood pressure or diabetes. And here's the really scary part. Many people don't even realize what's happening until their kidney function is already compromised. Have you, or someone you know, ever used a detox tea every morning for weeks, just thinking it was helping? It's more common than you might think. But that's not all. There are also a few teas that interact with medications, affecting kidney function indirectly. For example, dandelion tea, often considered gentle, can increase the effects of diuretics and blood pressure meds, leading to dehydration. Licorice root, which we talked about earlier, can also reduce potassium, putting extra stress on the kidneys. And senna tea, while helpful in short-term constipation, is never meant for daily use. Long-term use, that can trigger something called renal tubular injury, damage inside the kidney structure itself. Now here's one most people don't expect: black tea. Yes, again. I know. It's surprising how often it shows up. Black tea contains high levels of oxalates, compounds that, when consumed in large amounts, can lead to kidney stones. And if you already have a history of kidney stones, drinking black tea every day can make that problem worse. Back in 2014, doctors at the University of Arkansas reported a case of kidney failure linked to excessive iced tea consumption, nearly a gallon per day, because of oxalate overload. And while most people don't drink that much, if you're having multiple cups every day, it adds up. Now, I'm not saying you can never drink tea again. Absolutely not. But just like we said earlier, the dose makes the difference. So, which teas are kinder to your kidneys? Here's where things get hopeful. Teas like chamomile, ginger, lemon balm, or light fruit infusions, they're much gentler. They help keep you hydrated without overworking the kidneys. White tea and oolong tea are lower in oxalates and caffeine, making them a better option for long-term health. And green tea, in moderation, contains antioxidants that can reduce inflammation and support kidney function. Though it's best to avoid concentrated green tea extracts, which are too strong and may do the opposite. And one more tip. If you love black tea and don't want to give it up entirely, try adding a splash of milk. Research has shown that milk binds to oxalates, reducing the amount absorbed by your body and potentially lowering the risk of kidney stones. So, here's what I want you to remember. Your kidneys are quiet heroes. They work non-stop every day to keep your body clean and balanced. But they can't tell you when they're tired, not until it's too late. So be gentle with them. Hydrate. Avoid long-term use of strong detox teas. And if something feels off in your energy, your urine, your lower back, don't ignore it. Sometimes protecting your health starts with something as simple as rethinking the tea in your cup. Let me tell you something I hear all the time in my practice. But doctor, it's just a tea. It's natural. How bad could it be? And I get it. We've been taught to trust natural things. We believe herbs are safe because they come from the earth. But here's the truth. Natural doesn't always mean harmless, especially when it comes to your liver. Your liver is one of the most important and most underappreciated organs in your body. It's responsible for detoxifying everything you eat, drink, and even breathe. It processes medications, alcohol, environmental toxins, and yes, even herbal compounds. But what happens when you overload the liver day after day without knowing it? Well, it starts to slow down. And when the liver slows down, your whole body feels it. You may notice fatigue, foggy thinking, digestive issues, skin irritation, and over time, more serious complications. And that brings us to a surprising truth. Some herbal teas, especially certain cleansing teas, can quietly damage the liver. Now, I'm not here to scare you. I'm here to inform you. Because the earlier we understand how these things work, the easier it is to protect ourselves and make better choices. Let's start with a herb you might have seen in liver detox teas, Carcata Intio. In South America, it's used to support digestion and blood sugar. But studies, including a 2020 review published in the journal Plants, show that long-term use or high doses of Carcata may lead to liver inflammation and cellular stress. Another common herb in cleansing teas is horsetail or Cavalinia.ent. You might remember this one from earlier. It showed up in our kidney discussion. Well, it affects the liver too. Horsetail contains compounds that deplete vitamin bone, thiamine, and have been linked to liver toxicity in animal studies. The risk is even higher if you're already taking medications that the liver has to process daily. And then there's kava kava. Now this one might not be in your kitchen, but it's often found in relaxation or stress relief teas. And I have to be honest with you, kava has been directly linked to liver failure. I'm not exaggerating. There have been multiple cases, including here in the US, where people ended up in the hospital with liver damage after drinking kava tea regularly. Some needed transplants. A few didn't survive. So if you see kava kava on a label, I strongly recommend you leave that product on the shelf. Another herb that shows up in colon cleanse or detox teas is Cascara sagrada. It acts as a natural laxative, which sounds harmless. But over time, it can cause something called cholestatic hepatitis, a condition where bile backs up into the liver, causing inflammation and damage. Still with me, I know this is a lot, but it's important because sometimes it's the herbs we take to feel better that end up doing quiet harm, especially when taken without guidance. Let me give you a quick example from recent years. There was a case published in the Annals of Internal Medicine of a 45-year-old woman who drank multiple herbal detox teas daily. She had no prior liver issues, but after 6 months of daily use, she developed acute liver failure. The only known cause? The herbs in her tea. And here's something even more surprising. Even green tea, yes, the one we all know and love, can hurt the liver if consumed in concentrated extract form. A 2017 study published in Hepatology found that green tea extract, often found in fat-burning supplements, was the most common cause of herbal-induced liver injury reported to the U.S. Drug-Induced Liver Injury Network. So what can we take from this? It's not about avoiding all herbal teas. It's about being smart, informed, and gentle with your body. The liver is like your body's laboratory, processing everything, filtering everything, cleaning up the mess after every meal, every pill, every sip. It's strong, but not invincible. So, what kind of teas are safer for your liver? No, Calvo. Let me give you a few examples. Milk thistle tea, known for its active compound silymarin, which helps protect and regenerate liver cells. Turmeric tea, packed with curcumin, it's a powerful anti-inflammatory that supports liver health. Chamomile and lemon balm, gentle on the system and supportive of digestion. Hibiscus tea can be helpful in moderation, especially for liver fat balance, but should be taken carefully if you're on medications. And remember, even the good ones should be taken in moderation. 1 to 2 cups a day is usually safe. But megadoses, daily cleanses, not necessary and sometimes harmful. So if you're someone who enjoys herbal teas, or if you've ever taken a detox blend for a few weeks, I'd encourage you to look at the ingredients. Google them. Ask your doctor. Because protecting your liver might be as simple as switching teas. And honestly, isn't that worth it? Let me ask you something. Have you ever finished a cup of tea and suddenly felt a little off? Not sick, just foggy. Maybe a little lightheaded. You assumed it was the weather or stress or maybe low blood sugar. But what if, and hear me out, what if it was the tea? That means it speeds up your heart, increases alertness. Most people never think of tea as something that can affect the brain. I mean, we associate tea with calmness, clarity, peace. It's part of our morning routine, our bedtime ritual. But depending on the ingredients, some teas can disrupt your mental clarity, affect your mood, and in more extreme cases, even trigger neurological symptoms. And for people over 60, whose brains are naturally more sensitive and often already under the effects of medications or sleep changes, the impact can be much stronger. So yes, tea can affect your brain, and some do it in ways most people never imagine. Let's start with one that's surprisingly common: sage tea. Sage is used in cooking, essential oils, and of course, herbal tea. And to be fair, in very small doses, sage can help with digestion and even memory. But here's the catch: sage contains a compound called thujon. In low amounts, it's fine, but in larger amounts, or if taken regularly, thujon can become neurotoxic. It can interfere with brain chemistry. Some people report confusion, agitation, internal currencies, or concentrate for us to, uh, disease, restlessness, trouble concentrating, and in rare cases, even hallucinations. Now imagine someone over 60 already dealing with mild memory lapses or fatigue, adding a few cups of sage tea to their daily routine, thinking it's helping, when in fact it could be making things worse. Another one that's more intense, and sometimes glamorized, is ayahuasca. Now, I know this isn't something people drink casually. It's often used in spiritual ceremonies and retreats, especially in South America. What? But it's worth mentioning because I've had patients, even here in the US, ask about it. Ayahuasca is a powerful hallucinogenic tea made from a combination of plants. And yes, it has traditional use. Some people describe transformative experiences. But medically speaking, this tea alters brain chemistry in unpredictable ways. And for people with any kind of mental health history, it can be extremely risky. Ayahuasca can trigger intense anxiety, violence, outcome, panic attacks, flashbacks, and in some cases, full-blown psychosis. Studies like one published in Psychological Medicine show that individuals with a family history of conditions like bipolar disorder or schizophrenia are at much higher risk of developing symptoms after consuming ayahuasca, even just once. And it's not just about mental illness. Even in otherwise healthy adults, the neurological effects can linger, especially if the tea is taken without proper guidance. So, if you're ever offered ayahuasca or see it mentioned in wellness circles, please take it seriously. This isn't just tea. It's a psychoactive substance, and it can change your brain in ways that may not be reversible. Now let's talk about something far more common: caffeine-heavy teas. Black tea, green tea, yerba mate. All of these contain significant amounts of caffeine. And caffeine, as you probably know, is a stimulant, suppresses fatigue, and affects your nervous system directly. For younger people, a little boost of caffeine might be fine, but for older adults, especially those already dealing with sleep issues, anxiety, or blood pressure problems, it can lead to insomnia, jitterness, mood swings, irritability, or that all too familiar wired but tired feeling. And here's a detail many people overlook: caffeine slows reaction time in older adults more than it does in younger people. That's right, it doesn't just make you alert, it can actually make you feel sharp while dulling your actual response time. A false sense of clarity. Janssen, officer core to the dial. About K and that was B. According to a study from the Journal of Clinical Psychopharmacology, people over 65 processed caffeine significantly slower and were more prone to side effects, especially when taking it late in the day. So if you've ever had trouble falling asleep or felt mentally scattered the next morning, your tea might be part of the reason why. Now, before we go too far into the negative, let me balance this out with some good news. Some teas actually help the brain. Let's go through a few gentle ones that can support cognitive function, reduce stress, and even help protect your brain cells. Ginger tea, rich in antioxidants, it fights inflammation and oxidative stress, both linked to cognitive decline. Green tea? Yes, it has caffeine, but in moderation it also provides L-theanine, an amino acid that promotes calm focus. Chamomile tea encourages deep, restful sleep, which is essential for memory and brain repair. Rosemary tea, associated with improved memory and concentration. Cinnamon tea contains compounds that may support brain health and reduce inflammation. But again, everything in balance. More isn't always better, especially with herbs that affect the brain. And here's something I always remind my patients. The brain is the most sensitive organ in your entire body. It's where your thoughts live. No power, gotta get power. D, an unswag. Your memories, your personality. So if something messes with it, even a little, you'll feel it. So be curious. Read the ingredients. Pay attention to how you feel after your tea. And if something doesn't feel quite right, trust your body. Sometimes, the smartest thing we can do for our minds is make a small change in our cup. By now, you might be looking at your kitchen shelf a little differently. Maybe you're thinking about that box of black tea you sip every morning, or the detox blend your daughter gave you as a gift, or that sweet licorice tea you enjoy in the afternoon. And you're wondering, could something that feels so harmless really be hurting me? It's a fair question, and an important one, because the truth is, as we get older, our bodies become more sensitive. Our organs don't bounce back the way they used to. The liver processes slower, the kidneys filter less efficiently, the nervous system reacts more strongly, and that means even small habits, like the tea we drink, can have a big impact. So let's take a breath and go back gently over what we've uncovered together. We saw how licorice root and black tea, though common, can raise your blood pressure, especially if you already deal with hypertension. We discovered that many so-called cleansing teas, with senna, cascara, or dandelion, can overwork your kidneys and lead to silent damage. especially if used every day. We learned that herbs like carcaya, horsetail, and kava kava can actually be toxic to the liver, especially when taken in large doses or over time. And we talked about the neurological effects of teas like sage, ayahuasca, and even too much caffeine, how they can cloud the mind, disturb your sleep, or even trigger confusion or anxiety. And maybe you're thinking, but I've been drinking some of these for years, or I thought I was doing something healthy. And listen, I understand. Truly. Well, I'm done. I'm done. See you in trial. Alright. Memangid on the out or an officer. Gushux or sincere. A good one. This isn't about guilt or fear. It's about awareness. Because now you know more. Now you can make smarter choices. Now you can adjust. Gently. Confidently. One, interview so RPG nap that's in. And not or not so safely. And there. That's the beauty of learning. It gives you the power to protect yourself. So here's what I want you to take away from this video. You don't need to stop drinking tea. You just need to choose the right ones for your body, your age, and your needs. Teas like 1, 2, ginger to reduce inflammation, chamomile to support rest and digestion, hibiscus in moderation to help with blood pressure, turmeric to support liver health, well, rosemary for brain clarity, and gentle fruit-based teas to stay hydrated without overstimulation. Simple, safe, soothing. It's not about perfection. It's about paying attention. Because here's the truth. No one ever teaches us how to drink tea wisely. We're told what to eat, what not to eat, but tea, it slips under the radar. Until now. So let this be your starting point, your moment of reset. And remember, the small decisions you make every day, those are the ones that shape your future. Let me ask you something, just between us. Do you drink any of these teas? Have you heard of them before? Or are you more of a coffee person? Whatever your answer is, it's okay. The point here isn't to scare or confuse anyone. It's to start a conversation that matters. If you have questions, don't hesitate to leave them in the comments. Tell us your age, where you're from, your health condition, and your question, and we'll do our very best to respond with clarity, care, and science behind every answer. And of course, if you take medications or have a medical condition, please speak with your doctor before adding or removing any tea from your routine. We want the best for you, truly. That's why we do this. We study, we research, and we bring you evidence-based information so you can take care of yourself with confidence and responsibility. Because you deserve to live with autonomy, with energy, with joy in your body and in your mind. So if you found this video helpful, follow us. Stay close. Let us keep showing up for you. We'll keep sharing tips to support your muscle health, help you prevent disease, offer simple routines and exercises, and above all, help you feel stronger, lighter, and more connected to your own body every single day. That's our mission, to help you feel proud of yourself. Wow. Capable, once active, and never alone on your health journey. We'll see you in the next video. Until then, take care and be kind to yourself.